All right, you fuckers, welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be back.
As always, we take a mountain of bullshit
Chew it up,
and spit out the good stuff.
so your delicate brains don't have to.
I wouldn't call their brains delicate.
Misinformed, maybe?
Touche. Anyways, this time we're diving into the world of cars.
Everyone loves cars.
Let's face it,
Whether you're a gearhead,
who can rebuild an engine blindfolded?
or you just use your car to haul your ass to the grocery store.
This shit affects all of us.
Yeah, the automotive industry is a beast.
It's got a crazy history.
Drama.
Renovation.
And enough environmental baggage to make Greta Thunberg spontaneously combust.
Speaking of history,
Oh yeah.
our listener has sent us a mountain of articles and research about the car industry.
Nice.
Holy shit, some of these Wikipedia pages are longer than my last hangover.
Well, let's crack open a beer and dive in.
Maybe we can make some sense of this mess.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the early days,
Way back when.
back in the 1860s.
Yeah.
A bunch of dudes are basically like, fuck horses.
Right.
Let's make some shit that moves without needing to be fed.
Doesn't shit everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, the so-called horseless carriage era.
Crazy.
It's wild to think that hundreds of companies popped up,
Oh!
trying to make their mark on this brand new industry.
It's like the fucking gold rush,
Uh-huh.
but with gears and grease instead of gold nuggets.
Except in this case, the U.S. actually struck gold.
They did.
They quickly became the dominant force in car manufacturing,
Makes sense.
with companies like Ford and GM becoming household names.
Yeah.
And symbols of American industrial might.
And get this,
What?
by 1929,
Okay.
the U.S. was producing a mind-blowing 90% of the world's cars.
Wow.
Talk about a monopoly.
Those were the days, huh?
No wonder everyone else is pissed off.
Well, that dominance didn't last forever.
Really?
The landscape started to shift after World War II.
Yeah, Japan came roaring in during the 80s with their fuel-efficient, reliable cars.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, American cars started looking like gas-guzzling dinosaurs.
It wasn't just Japan.
Oh,
Globalization changed the game entirely.
interesting.
Production started shifting to countries with lower labor costs.
No.
Developing economies saw an opportunity to get in on the action.
Makes sense.
And then China came along and basically said, hold my beer, I'm going to make more cars than anyone has ever seen before.
Seriously.
China's rise in the automotive industry has been meteoric.
I can imagine.
They're now the world's largest car producer by a long shot.
It's insane. They're pumping out over 30 million vehicles a year.
And it's not just about quantity.
No.
Chinese companies are also starting to make serious headway in terms of quality and innovation.
So the U.S. went from making 90% of the world's cars to getting its ass kicked by Japan and China.
That's going to hurt the American ego a little bit.
It's definitely a wake-up call.
Right.
The automotive world is no longer a one-horse race. It's a global battle royale. Speaking of a global battle royale, let's talk about how the types of cars being offered have also exploded.
Okay.
In the U.S. alone, the number of car models skyrocketed.
Really?
From a measly 140 in 1970 to a whopping 684 by 2012.
Wow.
It's like they're trying to create a car for every goddamn personality type on the planet.
Well, that explosion of choices reflects a few things.
Like what?
You've got advances in technology, shifting consumer preferences,
Yeah.
and this cutthroat competition between manufacturers to grab market share.
Interesting.
They're all trying to find their niche and appeal to as many buyers as possible.
It's got to be a nightmare for consumers, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how the hell are you supposed to choose between 684 different models?
No kidding.
It's like trying to pick a favorite child.
It's definitely overwhelming.
I bet.
But this abundance of choice also highlights the changing dynamics of the market.
How so?
You've got the rise of these BRIC countries,
Which are?
Brazil, Russia, India, and China, which are now driving a huge chunk of global demand.
Right, those up-and-coming economies with their growing middle classes who are suddenly like, hey, we want cars too, damn it.
Exactly. And their preferences are shaping the industry in new ways.
I see.
They're looking for affordability, fuel efficiency, and vehicles suited to their specific needs and infrastructure.
And while all this is going on, you got young people in cities who are like, fuck cars. I'd rather spend my money on avocado toast and ride sharing.
It's true. Car ownership isn't the status symbol it used to be, especially for younger generations.
Makes sense.
They're more concerned about sustainability, convenience, and the cost of living.
Plus, who wants to deal with the hassle of parking in a city? It's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, parking in a major city is like trying to find a unicorn in a dumpster.
Good luck with that.
No kidding.
All right, so we got all these new players,
Yeah.
changing demands,
Right.
and a whole new generation that's questioning the very idea of car ownership. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. And we've only just scratched the surface.
We'll be right back after this break.
Sounds good. All right, let's cut the crap and talk about something that's been making a lot of noise lately.
What's that?
Electric vehicles?
EVs.
Are they the future or just a bunch of hype?
Yeah, EVs seem to be all the rage these days.
Everyone's talking about saving the planet.
Right, and driving silent death machines.
But can they really compete with the raw power and rumble of a good old-fashioned gas guzzler?
I don't know, man. I kind of doubt it.
Well, the shift towards EVs is definitely happening.
It is.
And it's happening fast.
Is it really?
Governments around the world are setting ambitious targets to phase out gas-powered cars.
Yeah, seriously.
And the technology is advancing at a breakneck pace.
So you're saying the days of hearing a throaty V8 roar are numbered?
Maybe a little.
That's kind of depressing.
But listen, the tech behind EVs is pretty damn impressive.
Is it?
Batteries are getting more powerful, ranges are getting longer,
Oh.
and charging infrastructure is expanding rapidly.
I guess that makes sense.
Plus, the instant torque of an electric motor can give even the most powerful gas-powered cars a run for their money.
Okay, I'll admit, the idea of smoking a Lambo off the line in a silent electric car is kind of badass.
Right.
But let's be real, EVs are still pretty expensive, right?
Yeah.
Most people would rather blow their cash on a weekend bender than a fancy electric ride.
True. The upfront cost can be a barrier for some.
Exactly.
But the long-term benefits are becoming increasingly attractive.
Like what?
Fuel savings, lower maintenance costs.
Okay.
And government incentives can make EVs a more appealing option in the long run.
So you're saying I should trade in my muscle car for a Tesla?
And start wearing hemp sandals?
No way.
Hey, I'm not saying you have to go full eco-warrior.
Okay, good.
But it's worth paying attention to the trends.
Right.
Even the big muscle car manufacturers are starting to dip their toes into the electric waters.
Really?
You might be surprised what the future holds.
All right. I'm keeping an open mind.
Good.
But speaking of the future,
Yeah?
what about self-driving cars?
Self-driving.
Are we really going to have robot chauffeurs anytime soon?
It seems like we've been hearing about this shit forever. Self-driving technology is definitely one of the most disruptive forces in the automotive industry right now.
For sure.
It has the potential to revolutionize transportation as we know it.
Imagine a world where you can get shit-faced at the bar and have your car drive you home.
Oh, yeah.
No more DUIs.
Nope.
No more designated drivers.
Exactly.
Just pure drunken bliss.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
True.
But seriously, self-driving technology has the potential to make roads safer,
Okay.
reduce traffic congestion,
I could get behind that.
and provide mobility options for people who are currently unable to drive.
That's actually a good point.
So it's not all about getting wasted.
Hey, I never said it was.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay, but seriously, how close are we to actually seeing these robocars on the road?
Is it still a sci-fi fantasy, or is it actually happening?
It's happening, but it's a complex process.
I bet.
There are different levels of automation.
Right. And we're already seeing some of the lower levels in cars today,
Like what?
like lane keeping assist and adaptive cruise control.
Yeah, but those are just baby steps.
Sure.
When can I take a nap while my car does all the work?
Well, we're not quite there yet.
Damn it.
But companies like Tesla,
Yeah.
Google, and a bunch of others are investing billions in developing fully autonomous vehicles.
I can imagine.
The technology is advancing rapidly. But there are still some significant hurdles to overcome,
Such as
like safety regulations and public acceptance.
public acceptance. You think people are going to freak out about sharing the road with robots?
Let's be real, some people freak out about sharing the road with other humans.
True.
But yeah, there's definitely a trust factor that needs to be addressed.
I guess I can see that.
People need to feel confident that these self-driving cars are safe and reliable
Right.
before they're willing to hand over the wheel completely.
I guess that makes sense.
It's one thing to trust a computer to play your Spotify playlist. It's another thing entirely to trust it with your life.
Okay, but let's say the tech does pan out
Uh-huh.
and those robocars hit the streets.
Okay.
What happens to all the traditional automakers?
Are they going to go the way of the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
They're definitely facing some serious challenges.
Yeah.
The rise of EVs and self-driving technology is disrupting the industry in a big way. They need to adapt and innovate or risk getting left behind.
So basically, it's survival of the fittest.
Pretty much.
The companies that embrace the future will thrive.
Right.
And the ones that cling to the past will get their asses handed to them.
Exactly.
Harsh but true.
The automotive world has always been competitive.
It has.
But the stakes are higher than ever now.
I can imagine.
The next decade will be a defining moment for the industry.
Okay.
And it's going to be fascinating to watch it all unfold.
I'm grabbing some popcorn.
This is going to be a hell of a show.
But hold your horses, folks. We still have one more part to this deep dive.
Oh, right.
We're going to go beyond the cars themselves and look at the bigger picture. The geopolitical forces, the supply chain nightmares, and all the other shit that's making the automotive world spin.
It's going to be wild.
Don't miss it. All right, so we've talked about the cars themselves, but now
what?
Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
What the hell is going on in the world that's shaping the future of the automotive industry?
Well, for starters, it's a fucking geopolitical shit show out there.
Seriously?
Countries are vying for economic dominance, and the automotive industry is right in the middle of it all.
It sounds like a game of Risk.
With real-world consequences.
Exactly. You've got China flexing its manufacturing muscle,
Uh-huh.
Europe pushing its green agenda,
Right.
and the U.S. trying to hold on to its legacy as an automotive powerhouse.
It's a battle for resources,
For sure.
market share, and technological supremacy.
For sure. Market share and technological supremacy.
So who's winning?
It's hard to say. The landscape is constantly shifting,
Yeah.
and there's no clear victor.
Okay.
But one thing's for sure.
What is up? The countries that control the supply chains for critical components like
what?
batteries and rare earth minerals
Right.
will have a huge advantage.
Speaking of supply chains,
Oh, yeah.
remember that whole global chip shortage fiasco a few years back?
How could I forget?
It felt like the entire world was put on hold because we couldn't get enough of those tiny little bastards.
Yeah, that chip shortage was a wake-up call.
I'll say.
It exposed the fragility of global supply chains
Right.
and how much we rely on a handful of key players.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, a lot of those key players are in politically volatile regions,
Oh, yeah.
which just adds another layer of complexity.
So what can we do about it?
What do you mean?
Should we all start hoarding car parts in our basements like doomsday preppers?
Ha, well, that's one option.
I'm half serious.
But seriously, diversification is key.
Okay.
Companies and countries need to spread their bets and develop more resilient supply chains
Right.
that can withstand disruptions.
So basically, don't put all your eggs in one basket. All right, so we've got geopolitical power struggles
Uh-huh.
and supply chain nightmares.
What else?
What else is keeping automotive executives up at night?
Well, on top of all that, they've got to deal with a rapidly evolving technological landscape.
Such as?
We've already talked about EVs and self-driving cars.
Yeah.
But there's a whole universe of other innovations that are transforming the industry.
Give me some examples.
From AI-powered design tools
Okay.
to blockchain-based supply chain management systems.
It sounds like they need to hire a team of rocket scientists just to keep up.
Pretty much the pace of change is relentless.
I bet.
The companies that can adapt and embrace these new technologies will thrive.
For sure.
The ones that cling to the old ways are going to get left in the dust.
So it's a wild ride with a lot of moving parts.
You said it.
What's the takeaway for our listeners?
What do you mean?
What the hell should they make of all this chaos?
The automotive industry is at a crossroads.
Okay.
It's facing unprecedented challenges, but also incredible opportunities. The decisions that are made today will shape the future of transportation for generations to come.
No pressure.
It's an exciting, albeit tumultuous time to be paying attention.
Well said. So the next time you're stuck in traffic, cursing out the asshole in front of you, take a moment to appreciate all the crazy shit that went into putting that car on the road.
It's true.
It's a marvel of engineering, a product of global collaboration,
Yeah.
and a reflection of our ever-evolving world.
And who knows what the future holds?
What do you think?
Maybe we'll all be zipping around in flying cars.
What?
Or teleporting to our destinations.
Or maybe we'll all be riding horses again.
Because why?
Because the robots have taken over
Oh, right.
and banned all forms of combustion engines.
Hey, anything is possible at this point.
That's the beauty of it, right?
Sure.
The future is unwritten,
Uh-huh.
and the automotive industry is one of the most dynamic forces shaping that future.
Stay tuned, folks.
It's only going to get more interesting from here. That's it for this deep dive, you magnificent bastards.
Hope you learned something.
We've gone from horseless carriages to robot chauffeurs,
From American dominance to global battle royales.
from gas-guzzling behemoth to electric dreams.
It's been a wild ride.
Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay curious out there.